The divorce papers were still warm from the judge's desk when Rowan Mercer folded them once, slipped them into his jacket, and quietly walked out of the courthouse with nothing but the small duffel bag he had carried in. He did not argue. He did not beg. He did not ask his wife to reconsider. 23 years of marriage ended in less than 20 minutes, and the woman he had loved longer than he had loved himself walked away without looking back. As Rowan stepped onto the courthouse steps under the bright afternoon sun, believing he had lost everything that made life worth living, a long black limousine rolled silently to the curb. People stopped walking. Drivers slowed their cars. A sharply dressed elderly billionaire stepped out, looked directly at the broken man everyone else ignored, and removed his hat with quiet respect. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances can change a life, please take a moment to like this video, leave a thoughtful comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement today, and subscribe to our channel so you can become part of our growing family that believes every ending can become a new beginning. Only an hour earlier Rowan had believed his greatest pain was watching his marriage disappear. He had no idea that the limousine waiting outside the courthouse carried a secret connected to one ordinary act of kindness he had almost forgotten decades before. Rowan had never been famous, wealthy, or extraordinary in the eyes of the world. He worked for years repairing municipal bridges across a quiet American town, leaving before sunrise and returning every afternoon with aching shoulders and rough hands. He believed that if a person worked honestly, loved faithfully, and treated strangers with respect, life would eventually return that goodness. It was a simple belief, but it carried him through years of sacrifice. His wife, Meredith, had once admired those values. When they were young, they rented a tiny apartment where rain leaked through the kitchen ceiling, and they laughed while catching drops in old cooking pots. They dreamed about building a peaceful future together. But dreams slowly changed. Promotions came for Meredith. Bigger offices followed. Better friends. More expensive tastes. Rowan remained the same humble bridge inspector who preferred fixing broken things instead of replacing them. As the years passed, Meredith became embarrassed by the life Rowan still appreciated. She wanted luxury. She wanted status. She wanted invitations to exclusive gatherings where successful people discussed investments instead of neighborhood projects. Rowan still spent Saturdays helping elderly neighbors repair fences or volunteering to restore playground equipment without asking for recognition. Eventually, she stopped seeing kindness as strength. She began seeing it as failure. The divorce had not exploded in anger. It faded through years of silence. Conversations became obligations. Meals became routines. Smiles disappeared long before the legal documents arrived. When Meredith finally asked for the divorce, Rowan simply nodded because he realized she had already left emotionally months earlier. Walking out of the courthouse, Rowan expected nothing except loneliness. Instead, the limousine stopped. The elderly gentleman introduced himself as Alastair Hawthorne, one of the wealthiest industrialists in the country. Rowan recognized the name from newspapers but assumed there had been some mistake. Billionaires did not wait outside courthouses for men carrying worn-out duffel bags. Alastair looked at Rowan with surprising warmth instead of pity. Age had bent his shoulders slightly, but his eyes remained bright with gratitude that seemed impossible between strangers. He explained that 31 years earlier, before becoming one of the country's richest businessmen, he had been an unknown entrepreneur driving across the state to meet investors who could save his struggling company. His old pickup truck broke down on a deserted highway under the afternoon heat. Hundreds of cars passed without stopping. One young construction worker eventually pulled over. That young man was Rowan. Rowan barely remembered the day. He remembered lending tools, spending hours repairing the engine beneath the hot sun, refusing payment, and sharing the sandwiches his wife had packed because the stranded driver admitted he had skipped lunch to save money. He remembered wishing the stranger good luck before driving away. He never asked the man's name. Alastair never forgot his. That meeting changed more than one life. The investors eventually approved Alastair's proposal. His small manufacturing business grew into an international company employing thousands. Over the decades he searched for the young man who helped him but lost track after Rowan changed addresses several times. A private investigator finally located him only weeks earlier. Alastair intended to thank him personally. Instead, he learned Rowan's marriage was ending that very day. The billionaire said something Rowan would remember forever. Success had introduced him to thousands of talented people, but genuine kindness without expectation remained unbelievably rare. Money could buy almost anything except a heart willing to help when nobody was watching. Rowan felt embarrassed. To him, fixing a stranger's truck had never deserved gratitude. Alastair smiled because that answer proved he had found the right man. Rather than offering cash, Alastair invited Rowan to lunch. The restaurant overlooked a peaceful river sparkling beneath the afternoon sunlight. Expensive surroundings made Rowan uncomfortable, but Alastair ignored appearances completely. They spent hours talking about family, regrets, purpose, aging, disappointment, and hope. For the first time since the divorce papers were signed, Rowan laughed. Not because his pain disappeared. Because someone reminded him that his life still mattered. During lunch Alastair confessed something deeply personal. His enormous business empire had become successful, but his own family had fallen apart. His children fought over future inheritances instead of relationships. Executives competed for power while forgetting the company's original mission of improving communities. He trusted accountants with numbers. He trusted lawyers with contracts. But he trusted very few people with character. He wanted Rowan's help. Not as an employee repairing bridges. As an advisor responsible for rebuilding the company's culture through honesty, compassion, and community service. Rowan immediately declined. He insisted he knew nothing about boardrooms or billion-dollar decisions. Alastair answered that leadership built only on intelligence eventually collapses, but leadership supported by integrity lasts generations. That afternoon Rowan agreed only to observe. He entered the towering headquarters expecting polished perfection. Instead, he found exhausted employees, fearful managers, and departments competing against one another. Productivity looked impressive on spreadsheets while morale quietly disappeared. Rowan spent several weeks simply listening. He visited maintenance workers, receptionists, warehouse employees, drivers, janitors, and technicians. He remembered every name. He noticed birthdays. He thanked people others ignored. Small changes slowly transformed the atmosphere. Employees smiled more often. Departments cooperated. People began suggesting improvements because they finally believed someone cared. Financial performance unexpectedly improved alongside workplace happiness. Executives who once mocked Rowan's simple ideas now studied them carefully. Meanwhile Meredith occasionally heard rumors about Rowan working with Alastair Hawthorne. She dismissed them as impossible gossip. In her mind Rowan would always remain the quiet bridge inspector incapable of entering elite business circles. Months later she attended a charity luncheon expecting influential guests and successful entrepreneurs. She nearly dropped her glass when Rowan entered beside Alastair. Not wearing expensive arrogance. Wearing humble confidence. He looked peaceful. Healthier. Lighter. The bitterness divorce had carved into his face had disappeared. People approached Rowan not because of wealth but because they respected him. Several employees shared stories about scholarships he quietly funded through company programs, emergency assistance for struggling families, and volunteer projects rebuilding neighborhood parks. Meredith watched strangers admire the qualities she had once dismissed as weakness. For the first time she questioned whether she had misunderstood success all along. She requested a meeting with Rowan several days later. He agreed during a sunny afternoon at a botanical garden where colorful flowers bloomed beneath clear skies. There was no anger inside him anymore. Only calm. Meredith apologized sincerely. She admitted that ambition slowly replaced gratitude until she judged people by income instead of character. She confessed that watching Rowan respected by people from every level of society forced her to confront painful truths about herself. Rowan listened quietly. Forgiveness came easier than expected because carrying resentment had become too heavy. But forgiveness did not erase consequences. Their marriage belonged to the past. Some relationships cannot be rebuilt exactly as they were. Some are meant to teach lessons before ending. Meredith accepted that reality through tears neither of them tried to hide. They walked away peacefully, finally giving each other the closure missing from the courthouse months earlier. Life continued changing in beautiful ways. Alastair established a national foundation dedicated to recognizing unnoticed acts of kindness. Every year ordinary people who quietly served others received grants supporting their communities. Rowan insisted the awards remain anonymous whenever recipients preferred privacy. He believed kindness became strongest when it expected nothing in return. The foundation repaired schools, restored playgrounds, funded shelters, and provided emergency assistance to struggling families across countless towns. Thousands benefited because one construction worker had once stopped beside a broken truck without asking what was in it for him. Years later reporters frequently asked Rowan whether becoming close friends with a billionaire changed his life. He always answered that the limousine never truly changed his future. The decision to stop for a stranger decades earlier did. Every blessing afterward simply grew from one ordinary moment of compassion. People often imagine that life changes through spectacular opportunities. Sometimes life changes because someone chooses kindness on an ordinary afternoon while nobody else is paying attention. The courthouse where Rowan believed everything ended eventually became the place where everything truly began. The divorce that once felt like unbearable loss became the painful doorway leading him toward a purpose far greater than the future he had planned. He never became rich in the way magazines measured wealth. Instead, he became rich in trust, friendship, purpose, gratitude, and the knowledge that one good heart can quietly reshape thousands of lives. Before this story ends, please leave a meaningful comment telling us what lesson touched your heart the most, or share a time when one unexpected act of kindness changed your own life. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember, every person you pass may be carrying a burden you cannot see, and every small act of compassion has the power to become the beginning of someone else's miracle. Sometimes the greatest reward for doing good does not arrive immediately. It arrives years later, in a form so unexpected that it reminds us hope has been quietly waiting for us all along. If you'd like, I can also